Now y'all got me on this. The conversation with Steph in the GOAT convo. If they win another one, not even now. But I am looking now. I'm here on landofbasketball.com. Kobe, 5 championships. Steph, 4 championships. Kobe played 20 seasons. Steph's at 16 right now. All-Stars, Kobe 18, Steph 11. MVPs, Steph 2, Kobe 1. Finals MVPs, Kobe 2, Steph 1. All-NBA first team, Kobe 11, Steph 4. Doesn't even sound right.
All-NBA first team for Steph?
All NBA teams, Kobe 15, Steph 10.
Okay, so that'll even out as their careers go along. But yeah, Steph had he didn't really pick up until he was like 23, which is unique because Kobe was a high schooler, obviously. So if Steph makes it to 20 years, he would play until he was 41 or 40, which is obviously possible, but like it's weird how Kobe started so young.
All defense first team, Kobe 9, Steph 0. All defense period, Kobe 12, Steph 0. Scoring leader, Kobe 2, Steph 2. Steals leader, Kobe 0, Steph 1. So yeah, Kobe is it is the most interesting conversation. And look, deeper in the summer, we'll get into it, but he's probably the only player that is overrated, underrated, and properly rated all at the same time.
I think the reason why that's the case is that because he is probably the most popular basketball player of the last 25 years. It's in a weird way, it's probably either him or Steph, but I would say Kobe was very, very, very popular for a very long time. And so you have people who emotionally swing in all sorts of directions with Kobe, and even more so now that he's no longer with us.
NBA Young Cobb on the Sac Chat was calling us nephew and saying Steph definitely not better in his prime. Kobe better, not even close. I mean, looking at these accolades, yeah, a little refresher when you see it on paper. So again, how much do rings matter? And we could do the back and forth or the head to head with Kobe and LeBron if we want. Maybe Kobe should be higher up. Depends on who you ask. Great stuff. Let's get to the reports that came out this weekend. First, Jay Triano and some of the other coaching staff members will not be moving forward. Jay Triano was kind of the head of that offensive conversation. And, we've talked a lot on this show. Did the offense change or did the Kings just go get DeMar DeRozan, which changed a lot of everything, right? So Jay Triano is moving on. Leandro Barbosa, everybody loves Leandro Barbosa. Leandro Barbosa will be sticking around. And Anthony Slater came out and said that during the weekend, said per himself and Sam Amick. Then Sam Amick adds on to this. Sources say Mike Woodson is a leading candidate for the Kings' top assistant spot under Doug Christie. He last coached in the NBA in 2021 and spent the past 4 years as the head coach at Indiana, where, if you're wondering, hey, I don't recall seeing Indiana do much in the NCAA tournament. Yeah, they finished 10th in the new Big Ten. They were 19-13 overall. They finished 10th behind Illinois, and I'm assuming, they must have just lost at some point in the tournament because I don't think they were even in the NCAA tournament this
They were
season.
not. So in his 4 years, they went, lost in the first round, lost in the second round, missed the tournament.
There you go. So that is what Mike Woodson was up to at Indiana. He was a player on the first ever Sacramento Kings team. So he meets the prerequisite of being connected to the Kings. You cannot work for the Kings. You cannot be on the Kings. You cannot walk into the building unless you have a connection to the Kings in some capacity.
Mike Woodson is, I'm not going to say so old, but his connection goes back so far. This is even before the second Arco. This is when they were playing in a warehouse that they converted into a basketball gym.
So he was player on the first ever team in 1985, 1986, former head coach of the Atlanta Hawks from 2004 to 2010, and Carmelo Anthony's Knicks 2012, 2014. And he coached Jalen Hood-Schifino and Trace Jackson Davis in college as well. So, you know, I think it's a good get. I'll be honest with you. He is a name that we are all familiar with. He's been around for a very long time. I don't know if he can. I don't think I knew he was still on the carousel, but apparently he was on the assistant coach carousel. And this is something that we discussed as far as getting these former NBA head coaches. Wasn't on my radar, but obviously that connection to the Knicks and Scott Perry is quite obvious. So they are going to kind of start there with filling out, and it's not official yet, but it seems like they're going to start there with filling out the coaching staff, as Barbosa, I would assume, would get some type of a promotion, I would guess, if they're keeping him around.
I would guess, since so many people just got laid off, or not laid off, not retained from the coaching staff. I would imagine Barbosa's jumping 3 or 4 of those people.
Yeah, I would think so too.
The Mike Woodson one is interesting because we talked about this with Triano last week. Triano's 67 years old, had been a head coach in Toronto, a head coach in Phoenix. I wasn't really ever in the running to be a head coach again in the NBA. I would say Woodson's kind of the same thing. He's also 67 years old, has been a head coach twice in the league. Based on the fact that he got, in essence, fired at Indiana, makes me think that he's probably never going to be in the running for an NBA head coaching job again. So maybe this is just the highest role he's going to get at this point in his career instead of, retiring. But it's just you're getting a coach at a different stage of their career than potentially a, lead assistant who's trying to get the next head coaching job in the league like they did with Jordi Fernandez. This is a coach who has been a head coach before, but is probably not going to be a head coach again.
Yeah, and honestly, it could make you feel, look, and Doug Christie wasn't the lead assistant coach, so anything can happen, but it should make you feel like they're trying to make sure Doug doesn't feel any more pressure than he already does. If Jeff Van Gundy said, yeah, I'm willing to go to the Kings, right? And Jeff Van Gundy is the lead assistant. I think Doug Christie's kind of looking over his shoulder. Now, again, that doesn't have to be the number one assistant to look over your shoulder, but I think if it was Van Gundy or one of these hot names, they would be out here, if your backup is right there, or the next guy up is right there on the staff. Van Gundy's been doing a great job. It's time for him to get another opportunity. So going in the direction of a Mike Woodson, that's not going to, we don't believe that would be the case. We'll see who else gets brought in, but it's a situation where and may the 4th be with you. That was yesterday, where the Padawan is not on the staff, whereas the Padawan was on the staff these last couple of years because it was Doug Christie. So kind of the next Jedi up was Doug Christie. I don't know who else they're going to fill it out with, and I wouldn't put Barbosa in that category either. But if you're going with Mike Woodson's and guys like that, then, even if you brought Lindsey Harding back, I think that would be a conversation, because she might start a buzz if Doug kind of struggled. So I think they are trying to say, hey, we're putting our best foot forward to put you in a good situation where you're not looking over your shoulder thinking, if I mess up, this upstart coach is going to leapfrog me. Kind of similar to the situation they put Mike Brown in. But this is what happens when you have a coach that you don't necessarily, I wouldn't say they didn't believe in Mike Brown, but don't have an invested interest in, or an investment in Mike Brown, which they do in Doug Christie. So they're going to do things a little bit differently with Doug to make him feel as comfortable as possible.
It'll be interesting to see if, like, now that you have a top lead assistant, do they go the Bobby Jackson route as a defensive coordinator or someone who has a connection to Doug? Because I was kind of trying to match resumes. It doesn't look like Mike and Doug ever crossed paths at one point. The only thing I see here is that Woodson was the lead assistant on the 04 Pistons when they won the championship with Larry Brown. Obviously, Scott Perry was in the front office at that point. So I guess you could say that's a connection, but it's a connection that's 21 years old. So I don't know, whether this is a Scott Perry or this is hey, Mike Woodson's looking to get back in the game and this is a natural fit for him. I'm not sure, but it seems to be the direction they're going to go, and it kind of fits the bill of what you asked Doug about on Friday and what others in the press conference did as well about a assistant coach with former head coaching experience.
Yeah, or I'm completely wrong, and deep down, Scott Perry does think that Mike Woodson could be a head coach again, and he is kind of there in case things get a little bit squirrely with Doug. But I don't think that's the case. I think they are trying to put Doug in the best position possible, very similar to what they did in LA. Like I said, Lindsey Harding is someone that could eventually get to that spot, but the other kind of the Scott Brooks of the world and guys that are their time is probably past but can still help. And nobody is leapfrogging Steve Kerr anyway, unless Jim Park is kind of in charge of it. But the Terry Stotts of the world, guys like that who have names and have experience, but their time is probably past. Okay, it is time for one of the most contentious trade targets of the day. I said who it was to Carmichael Dave, and he literally stormed out of the room. But hear me out. When we return, we will tell you who it is and how the Kings can acquire him. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Ooh.